Today I'm going to be checking the track tension and alignment on my 2013 F1100 back there. This is only the second time I've done this, so I would recommend that you guys go to the Country Cat website, look up the manual for your sled, and just follow the procedure in there. However, if you want to see somebody who doesn't know what they're doing try and do this, then I guess you're in the right place. So I've got the sled up off the ground, which is what you need to do. You're supposed to have some sort of shielded stand for it. Now with the shielded stand that I've got, I can't get my track even off of the ground, so I've got it just hung from my garage ceiling there, and I think this should work okay. I've got the big concrete wall behind it, so I'll just have to make sure that I don't step behind it when the sled is on and the track is spinning. And that's actually going to be the first step, so I'll fire this up. And then after it's warmed up, I'm going to blip the throttle, let the track go around a couple times, and then let it come to a stop on its own. I won't be touching the brake at all. I'm going to hang my 12 to 15 pounds right below this bump stop here. Go ahead and laugh. You want that on one of the metal track clips, not just on the rubber. Of course, you don't want that on the ground, it's just hanging there. And now what we want is 2 inches between the top of the track clip here and the bottom of the high fax or slides or wear strip, whatever you want to call it. And like I thought, I've got this just a little bit too tight. I've done my fair share of Googling on whether or not this should be any tighter with the studs in here, and honestly, I really have no idea. So if any of you guys know, feel free to let me know down in the comment box below. Should I be running this tighter since this track had studs on it? Kind of seems like it makes sense, but at the same time, I really have no idea. So I'm going to loosen this up just a little bit so it's within the 2 inches of clearance between those 2 points at the 12 to 15 pounds. I think I've got like 14.3 hanging there with my highly sophisticated kitty litter ratchet strap combo. So in order to adjust this either way, you've got to loosen both bolts on each side of the track here. And then after that, you've got these 2 adjusters on each side that push this further back if you tighten them clockwise. And if you were to loosen them up, back them out that way, and then fire the sled up or kind of give this a kick at the back, then the wheels would come forward, loosening the track up more, which is what I'm going to be doing. You want that loose enough so the washer can kind of spin a little bit. That way you know you're not going to be putting any more tension on those adjuster bolts than you need to. And now for these adjustment bolts, I would highly recommend picking up a set of ratcheting wrenches. I've got the Amazon Basics ones. I can put a link for these down in the description. These work really well for fitting in here and still being able to adjust it. So because I'm too tight, I'm going to loosen this up. 1, 2, we'll go 3 cranks. And I will, of course, be checking alignment after I do this, but just to kind of try to keep things aligned, you want to make sure whatever you do to one side, you do the exact same thing to the other. Let's fire it up and give the track a spin. After we remove our precision tool here, that is. So again, there I waited for that to come to a stop on its own, and you may have noticed that it seems like it wanted to creep along a little bit more. Now, there's definitely a lot of different settings you can make on a sled to sort of change that. I did read some people saying that you kind of want the tension to be at a point where it kind of can creep along like that on its own. I think that makes sense, but due to the other stuff that you could have done to the sled, mostly clutch work, that can kind of change things, so it's not really a great thing to go by, I don't think. I think the best thing at this point anyways, until I get some more knowledge on it, is just to go by the book. So I'm gonna stick the kitty litter back on there and we'll see what that got us. It looks like I've still got some adjusting to do. Great. Alright, so more than a couple times now, I've made an adjustment either in or out, ran the track, and then measured only to find that the adjustment that I made had the opposite effect. I don't know if it's something to do with the track being kind of uneven in tension throughout the length of it. I mean, the sled does have 10,000 miles on it, so I'm sure there is some amount of slop in probably everything back there. So I'm gonna give this one more go and I guess just see if I could get 2 inches on both sides. All right, so I've kind of given up on trying to get this perfect. It seems like it's just too wore out, or the track is too distorted to match exactly what the instruction manual says to do. So basically what I did is centered these back wheels between the two sets of lugs on each side there. I figure that's the most important. And then I checked my sides here. So this one is just right about 2 inches, maybe a hair under 2. And when I go to the other side and check it, that side is like 2 3/8. So I figure this side's pretty close to 2, that side's a little bit big. This is centered. I think I'm just gonna call that good. So hopefully when you guys go to do this, it's a little bit easier for you and everything lines up more like the book says that it should. If any of you out there have some advice for me or have run into kind of the same issue with a higher mileage sled or a lower mileage sled, feel free to let me know. Actually, please let me know down in the comment box below. Now I'm gonna remove my weight. And then I'm gonna grab my torque wrench here and set this to 34 foot-pounds. And now at this point you might think you're ready to ride, but you actually want to go back and snug these adjuster bolts up tight against this rear axle, otherwise these could rattle loose. And then this could rattle loose, and then you could have a really bad, dangerous day. So next, you want to give yourself a haircut to make sure that your snowmobile helmet fits, then take the sled out for a test ride and see if you have any ratcheting issues, and I definitely did. I've never experienced that before. It's quite a sound and quite a sensation. Essentially what happens is the track is so loose and the power that the cog is trying to put on it, mixed with the track kind of ballooning up when it's getting going, is just enough that it's actually able to slip inside of the track and essentially misses those teeth or kind of bounces along on them. It took me probably 5 or 6 tries. I would do like 3, not obviously full rotations, but just like the 1/8 turns or whatever it is that it allows you to do inside of that little adjustment window. And then when I got kind of towards the end, it seemed like I would have to work a lot harder to get the track to spin, and essentially what I was doing is finding any deep snow that I could, and pretty much from a dead stop just absolutely pinning the sled, kind of leaning forward to let the track spin freely as much as I could. The last time that I took it out before this final adjustment that I made, I only got it to ratchet 1 time. So when I came back here, I just made 1, whatever it is, 1/8 turn on both adjusters, tightened everything back up, took it out for another ride, and I have not got it to ratchet since. So I'm gonna lift this up in the air and just kind of show you guys, just as sort of a benchmark, what I ended up with as far as that measurement. Not necessarily to tell you guys that this is how you should set yours up if you have studs. If you, regardless of whether you have studs or not, you should go by the book and just kind of do what I did, going out and testing it and then slowly tightening it. But I just kind of want to give you this as sort of an idea of where I ended up with. Again, don't go set your sled to this setting just because it worked for me, because it might be too tight for you. So let's get this thing back up in the air, get the kitty litter underneath it, and see what I ended up with. And what I'm going to be using to lift this up tonight is actually different than in the last video. This is the Nifty lift, and a guy actually sent me this a couple years ago, and I kind of forgot I even had it. It's really kind of a neat thing. It's just a very small block and tackle system that makes lifting something this heavy very easy to do. I would not at all recommend this for holding the sled up, but for picking it up it works good. Best thing to do would be to attach some sort of chain to it after you get it hoisted up. Check out how easy this is though. This thing is really kind of neat. It's just got like a little lock in there that grabs the string for you. And again, you should be tying a chain on this, not just tying it off like I did. So again, this is really dumb. Have a safety chain. Don't do this. I'm just going to be extremely careful and not stick anything anywhere that it could possibly get pinched. So it looks like the sweet spot for me is 1 3/4, somewhere around there. So all in all, not really too bad of a process. A bit of a learning curve, especially for somebody like me that really thinks about things probably a lot more than they need to be thought about. The whole trying to get the back wheel straight and have both the right and left side be the same dimension, obviously with my sled just wasn't possible. Hopefully it is for your sled. It probably is something to do with just all the miles on here. I'm also kind of thinking that maybe one of my springs has been replaced at some point and the other one is still old, so I think that might have something to do with the tension. But regardless, I would say probably the most important thing is that you kind of start a little bit looser than you think it should be, and then slowly tighten it up to the point where you're just beyond where the track wants to ratchet when you do those wide open throttle pulls in as fresh of powdery snow as you can find. And then beyond that, the next most important thing is going to be getting those back wheels centered in the track lugs, the inner track lugs on each side, to make sure that that is straight in there. Beyond that, I don't really think it matters too much, and obviously in my case, I'm just not going to be able to get both of those sides to be the same exact tension. Just kind of how it shakes out when you got 9,000 miles on a sled. So I'm really happy that I went through this and figured it out and tried it. I would definitely encourage you guys to, of course, be safe. Follow the Country Cat manual. Again, like I said at the beginning, if you look on their website, I can put a link down in the description. You can find probably a manual for just about any Arctic Cat product out there. So I would definitely reference that. Don't do what I did. If you're going to use the Nifty Lift or something else like this, make sure you have some sort of solid chain strap up there when you're actually doing your adjustments and sticking your fingers in there. Don't do what I did. I'm an idiot. I should have some sort of safety strap up there, so make sure you do that. If you're interested in picking one of these Nifty Lifts up just to get the sled off the ground right before you put a nice solid chain or some sort of safety strap on there, then I can put a link for that down in the description. Really kind of a neat little product and makes it a lot easier to get the sled up and back down on the ground than that old come along that I was using. So hopefully this video was helpful to you guys. If it was, make sure and give it a like. If you have any comments or questions, leave them down below. Other than that, guys, take care, stay safe, stay swanky, get out, enjoy this beautiful world if you can, and hey, if you can't, make sure you're subscribed here and check out some more videos. In the meantime, click the bell after subscribe and let you know anytime I put a video, which will at least be once a week now that we have some snow and the trails are open. So looking forward to that.